Hey students, how's the social distancing going? I know for myself, I'm pretty tired of following all the guidelines and rules that they've put in place. But I also know that guidelines are put in place oftentimes for a good reason. For example, we can't yet meet back together as a youth group. And that's hard and it's kind of frustrating, but at the same time, the reason is because we want to make sure that we don't get back before it's safe and healthy to do so. What about at home? I know for many of you, you're spending a lot more time at home and with your siblings and with your parents than you're probably used to. And as a former teenager, I realized that a lot of times the guidelines and rules that our parents put in place don't really make sense to us at the time. I remember as a kid, my parents weren't super fond of trampolines, but I loved them. And they had a rule that I couldn't wrestle on the trampoline. Now my neighbors had a trampoline and I would love to go over there, and I thought that rule was pretty stupid because what's better to do than to wrestle on a trampoline? So at times I would actually disobey and I would wrestle on the trampoline until one time I was accidentally pushed off the trampoline. I smashed my head into the ground, and with a concussion and a messed up neck, that rule seemed actually pretty sensible. This week's challenge is one that might make you cringe a little bit, but as a teenager or a middle schooler, it's one that we really need to be reminded of. Ephesians chapter 6, Paul says this, "Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and your mother. This is the first commandment with a promise, that it may go well with you and that you may live long in the land." But Paul is charging us to obey our parents because it's right. And by honoring the parents that God has given us, we're really honoring God Himself. Now it also says that you are to obey your parents in the Lord. Now, our first priority, remember, is to honor and obey God and His Word. So if I was to go tell my daughter, hey, I want you to go over to the grocery store and steal some Snickers for me, well, that directly goes against God's Word, and that's not obeying your parents in the Lord. Also, that would be creepy because my daughter's 1 year old. But guys, make sure that you're not using that excuse that, you know what, this rule doesn't seem like it really makes sense to me, so I'm going to say it just doesn't honor God and I don't have to obey it. That's not at all what this is saying. There is a promise though if you go on. And Paul quotes a passage actually from Exodus 20 when he says this, "Honor your father and your mother. This is the first commandment with a promise, that it may go well with you and that you may live long in the land." This chapter in Exodus, God is promising, He's saying, I want you to honor your father and your mother, that it will go well with you in this new land, in this promised land. God is saying, I'm going to bless you if you honor your father and your mother. But realize that this word honor, it doesn't just mean obey. So you can't just obey your parents, but with a wrong attitude and a wrong heart in a dishonoring way. Instead, this speaks to more than just actions. This is also a matter of the heart of honoring your parents. The challenge to you guys this week is to check yourself. Take a step back and say, are my actions, am I really obeying, but not just obeying, but even more so honoring my parents with my actions, my attitude, and how I'm responding to them? What in my life and my attitude and my actions need to change so that I am honoring not just my parents, but through honoring my parents, also honoring God. Let's make sure that we honor God through honoring our parents.